first, let me get this thumbnail. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new to the channel, my name is Big Ball Vlogs. I do reviews, news, everyday vlogging, and every once in a while I'll do a tutorial. Today, I'd like to thank Maple Wireless for sending me a set of their 2.4, 5.8 DJI FPV patch antennas to give a try. I've had these for a couple of days, and I thought I'd give you a full review on them, or at least my opinions. So first off, I know a lot of you guys have been talking about the DJI FPV drone and actually DJI digital in general, and you've talked about how there is lack of penetration. Now, I am no expert, I am no JB, but I do know that in my trials of different antennas and different environments and watching different videos, I personally don't have a problem with the penetration of the stock DJI setup. But if you are someone who thinks that the stock DJI setup, even if you don't agree with some of the other videos that compare it to like SharkBite and other analog systems, if you are someone who feels that you don't get great penetration with that, this is something that's probably going to help you with the penetration. Now, these are directional patch antennas. If you've seen my V1 goggles, they got the iFlight face shield on there. Those are directional patch antennas too, but they are only tuned for I believe your 2.4 frequency. I can't remember what frequency the original DJI units are tuned for. But these are dual band, so these could be used with either your V1 or your V2 goggles. You will only get the use of the single band on your V1s, but with your V2s, you're going to be able to get to use both bands. Now, I'm going to be putting in some cutscenes from the original test that I've had here, just to kind of like keep the video a little bit fresh. But I took these out and I gave them a trial of a couple of days, and I wanted to see what I'm actually going to get. So the comparison I'm going to give you is the comparison to the DJI FPV drones stock antennas and the DJI FPV drones duality antennas that were made by somebody, or say True RC. I did 2 videos on that. Maybe I'll put the cards up here somewhere just to explain to you what the difference you're going to get if you go from stock to duality. So now I'm going to give you an example of what you're going to get if you think about going from like duality, which are omnidirectional antennas, to a set of patch antennas that are made by Maple Wireless. So let's just get into it. But first, let's start with what came in the pack. These are absolutely beautiful antennas. You know, it looks a little bit weird when you're wearing this headset, but now you got these 2 big old antenna arrays on the front, but they're absolutely beautiful antennas. In the box, you're going to get 2 antennas. You're going to get a few coaxial attachment accessories, and you're also going to come with, I think this comes with this, what do you call it, Yagi style antenna. Now, the Yagi style antenna looks like it's only tuned for 5.8. I haven't used a lot of Yagi style antennas, but from my experience, the 2.4 antennas have longer antenna arrays on them. And these are pretty short, so I'm thinking these are tuned for 5.8. And Maple Wireless suggests that you use their antenna setup on the 5.8 frequency band to get optimal use out of it. So it does come with the Yagi style antenna. I did test it with the Yagi style antenna just to see what I was going to get with them, for optimal use. But again, I'm going to give you some information that maybe a little bit different than what you've seen in other videos. Now, the reason I want to give this disclaimer is because I do not, again, fly in ideal conditions. I know you see a lot of guys doing antenna tests out in the wide open range where there's absolutely no obstruction, there's absolutely no cell phone signal, no cell phone antennas. I've got a cell phone antenna more than 200 yards away from me, and when I'm flying in my test environment, I'm flying through sort of like an urban environment where you have houses, you have cell phone antennas, you've got power wires, but I am flying over a very large marshy kind of lake or pond style or pond type area, just so I can get, keep within line with all the regulations and give it a good try. Now, when it comes to obstruction, if you have no obstruction, you're going to get optimal range from these. That means that if you could clear line of sight, you could see this thing. This thing is probably going to go for a very, very far distance. But for me, I am standing below a tree line that is probably miles and miles and miles of trees, so I am being obstructed. Now, if you're talking about penetration, that's where penetration is going to come in handy, because again, I'm flying below the horizon of a tree line, and I got to kind of shoot through that tree line and get the signal to the quad. Now, we'll get into the specs right now because that is very important. There's some specs in here that's going to be important to you if you're thinking about flying in different flight environments. So let's start talking about the specs. So first off, these are 2.4, 5.8 receiving antennas. There are 2 bands, and they have DBI, different DBIs on both bands. If you're not familiar with DBI, it's kind of sort of like the signal strength. In 2.4, you're going to get 6 DBI, and in 5.8, you're going to get 9 DBI. at half power, the beam or the array that comes out of this is sort of like an oblong shaped array. You're going to get at half power in 2.4 band, you're going to get a horizontal horizon of 100 degrees. And then you're going to get a vertical horizon of 85 degrees. In 5.8, you're going to get a horizontal horizon of 75 degrees, and you're going to get a vertical horizon. You're going to get a vertical um, beam of 55 degrees. So think about that. If you're running them in 5.8, essentially what you're doing is you're narrowing that beam down. It's going to go out farther probably, but you're narrowing that beam down. So the closer you are to yourself, you're probably not going to be within the signal beam, and it's probably going to be more difficult because the beam is narrow to keep this thing pointed directly at the aircraft. Now, it is easier to do this when you're thinking about like a DJI Mavic style drone, because the DJI Mavic style drone gives you an indicator that tells you where the drone is in the airspace and where you're pointing in relation to that. This is not the same. When you're looking through the goggles, you do not get any kind of indicator that tells you where that craft is, out in front of you. Now, it is very difficult at times to kind of make sure that if you're kind of got to go around to avoid something and it's going to the left, you're going to kind of turn your head to the left to make sure you are keeping that within the signal beam. Now, the further that it is away, again, that 100 degrees, at this distance, it's only going to be that wide, but at, miles and miles out, it's going to be super huge. But again, it's still going to impact the signal that you get. Now, for me, flying below a horizon line, right? At some point, my beam is going to be going through those trees, and then there's probably going to be a little bit that's going to go over top of those trees. And the further and further away I get, I'm probably going to get less and less of that clear, clean signal. So in 5.8 for me, I am now shooting a narrower beam, which is probably penetrating directly through the trees instead of going over them at the distance that I was standing. I don't know. I'm just giving you an example. So again, I'm not going to get the optimal signal strength because I am now penetrating through trees instead of going over top of trees. And I realize that that may be the case because at the end of the test, I took the drone up a little bit higher and I got a stronger signal strength, which told me that I was kind of shooting through the trees instead of shooting up over top of the trees. So with that said, let's go into the weight. The weight is only 95 grams. I do not feel any substantial weight gain by putting these on. It didn't feel uncomfortable. It didn't feel like the goggles are slipping or falling down further onto my face. They're actually pretty light. They're made of some decent material. Looks like maybe a fiberglass-ish type material. You have all gold antenna bands on there, and on the back you got some really nice graphics on the back there. So again, very, very nice antennas. I like the black and gold, kind of stands out on the actual goggle, so I do like that. And I like the way that they kind of like put some detail in it, and they also didn't skimp on the box. The box looks really good, a little really premium package, so you're getting something for your $100. Now, when I did the comparison from the duality antennas that came in like I don't know, like a little Ziploc bag for $100 versus the stock antennas, I got like this much more distance over the stock antennas, and I don't think you got a lot for that $100 upgrade. But with these, if you don't want to watch this to the end because I'm already at 7 minutes, I can tell you, you are getting something for that $100. You're getting an actual use that is actually going to probably benefit you if you're looking for something that's going to give you further distance or better penetration. So with that said, let's get into the actual I guess the trials that I had because I did a couple different flights. I did one that was in sort of auto mode, and in auto mode, the DJI drone is going to pick its own frequency. It's going to jump between the best channels and kind of give you the best distance or I guess communication between your craft. When I did it in auto mode, I got better results. Now again, Maple Wireless suggests that you use this in 5.8, which is a stronger signal band, but it is narrower. Now, again, for me, being narrower means that I got to shoot through trees. Now, when I shot in auto mode, which talking to Maple Wireless, they're saying that the DJI drone is probably going to handle, the FPV drone is probably going to handle with 2.4 mode, I got better results. Now, that may change for you. Again, if you're out in a wide open plane and you want to shoot, something there is no instruction, 5.8 is probably going to give you better results. But for me, because I am now shooting in an urban environment, I had to shoot through trees, I'm getting less or worse results by shooting in 5.8 than I would in 2.4 now, or in auto mode. So I do want to tell you, I tried this, multiple times. I want to make sure I got the same results. I wanted to make sure I'm pointing directly at. I try to point the Yagi style antennas and move my head around before I shot signal strength. And without getting to the actual numbers, I will tell you that with this set of antennas, sorry, there's a fly in my face. With this set of antennas, I got nearly double the distance that I got with the DJI FPV drone true RC duality antennas, and that is through obstruction. So somebody on one of the posts that I put on Facebook said, hey, how is the penetration at like 1,000 meters? I got much further than 1,000 meters. I don't want to give you into details, but I got much further than 1,000 meters, and I got through again, a decent amount of trees to get the signal to the drone. Now, if you're thinking about, again, flying this over some type of environment where you have no instruction, you probably would want to maybe put it in 5.8, get the best range out of it. Again, for me, I don't really do really long range stuff unless I'm doing antenna tests. But again, I do know that if I'm doing an apples to apples comparison, well, maybe not apples to apples, but an antenna to antenna comparison, these antennas outperform the true RC duality antennas. Now, again, keep in mind that these are directional patch antennas. So you're going to have to make sure that you maintain a line of sight or a directional line of sight with the craft to get the best use out of this. If you're looking for something that's more all around, because I know over the years of flying drones, for some reason I took off in that direction and it came back from that direction, these are probably not going to be the antennas for you. But if you're looking for something that's maybe you're standing outside or something that you know you can point directly at, never really tried multi-pathing and never tried flying through a bando or flying through something that's like an indoor environment with any of these antennas. So somebody else is probably going to have to do that demonstration or that test for you. Not sure how that's going to work, but I can tell you in an open environment, these are probably going to be something that you want to keep in your kit if you're thinking about getting a set of long range antennas. And with that said, like I said, I like them. I won't keep them on because again, I don't fly long range. I don't fly in environments that I think that I need to have a set of patch antennas on. Even with my other antennas, they're never plugged in. They're just there for color. But when I do need to get out and like with my different flying field where I'm kind of standing at one side of the flying field and I have a direct line of sight, I know I can get out that far. I'm going to probably put these on and play with them. In my normal test environment, I am flying across from myself. I'm flying horizontally across from myself, and I know that I will be flying outside of my signal strength here or my signal band here unless I was standing on one end and then just flying away from myself and flying back toward myself. So I wouldn't be using them there. But I will probably use these if I ever get out again to like somewhere like, I don't know, like Bali or something. I want to do some kind of crazy mountain, diving or something like that. I'll probably be putting something like this on so that I can get, the best strength and the best distance out of the quad. So that's all I want to do. I'm 11 minutes in. Like I said, a beautiful set of antennas. It comes with a Yagi style accessory for your remote control. They are very easy to put on. You just kind of like thread them in, and I want to make sure that you kind of are aware that these, like, since because these are directional antennas, there is the possibility that if you tighten these down or torque these down unevenly, they're not going to be pointing in the right direction. When I kind of just slapped these on, I looked at them and one's pointing off to the left and the other one's pointing off to the right, and they're kind of on an angle. I'm going to take care to make sure that they're lined up kind of evenly and pointing directly in front of you so that you get the best um, directional pointing that you can get. That's all I can say. So with that said, hey man, I'm going to lock this down. I'm going to put this online. If you're interested in a set of these antennas, please check out Maple Wireless. Again, thank you Maple Wireless for sending me these antennas to test out. And like I said in my post, I'm probably going to pass these on to someone else who can probably do another test and give you more content. So thanks again. Talk to you later. Peace.